Today we want to talk about two skills in teaching IELTS and speaking and listening. The next webinar on Monday is going to be on reading and writing. Okay, so have you ever taken IELTS exam? Any of you? Do you have experience?
No, I don't have any experience, but Shazia has taken.
Oh, okay, good. So, I'm sure you have heard about it, that we have general and academic IELTS. General usually for immigrations or work, but academic usually for universities. When you want to continue your higher educations in another country, they ask for IELTS academic version. Speaking and listening going to be the same. I mean, the questions or the test is the same for general and academic, listening and speaking. And assessing your ability to come in speaking, they assess your ability to communicate effectively using the use of English language. There are three parts, and the whole speaking test lasts for 11 to 14 minutes. All parts are recorded from very beginning to very end because maybe later you have some objections. So they have their recording and another assessor will assess and give you a band score. The examiner will control the timing of the test. You don't have your watch or there's no clock around. So you don't, I mean, it's the examiner who controls the timing of the test. What about different band score? The highest band score is 9. And it starts from 1, actually. So look at this. According to CFR, Common European Framework of Reference, A2, which means pre-intermediate, the band score equals 4. So IELTS score to A2 is 4. Beginning of intermediate, usually 4.5. End of intermediate, 5.5. And 6 starts from upper intermediate. Advanced is 7. And CPE, it's native like, it's between 8 to 9. So it is very important for teachers to know this because when their students want to participate in IELTS classes and they ask for 6.5, the knowledge of the level of their class, I mean, the knowledge of the language, English is very important. If their level is B1, to get to 6.5, they have to study English to advanced level. Then they try to take IELTS classes for techniques. Okay, so the level of the students' knowledge level is very important in band score. It's now, in the other words, I want to say it's not only techniques, but also the knowledge, which is the most important part of it, actually. Look here, you can compare it with other exams. We have different international exams, of course. So for proficiency, TOEFL, IELTS, Cambridge exams, so we can see the difference. And there are different Cambridge exams like FC, CAE, and CPE, also TOEFL and IELTS. North America, we do have TOEFL also, but usually in Europe, they ask for IELTS. Even in North America, you can have IELTS for entering the university or even applying for job or immigration. They accept IELTS as well. So as I told you, the format is like 3 main parts. It starts with the introduction. The examiner introduces himself or herself, then asks for your name and ID card. Then you have to show your passport. Then 4 to 5 minutes, the examiner asks you some questions, very familiar topics related to your home, work, studies, general life, and interests. Then part 2, 3 to 4 minutes, it's individual long term. In part 2, the examiner asks to speak for 2 minutes without interruption on one particular topic. Before you speak, the examiner will give you a task card with prompts to help you organize your ideas. You will have 1 minute to prepare. And then you can have your notes and you can have your task card while you're speaking for 2 minutes. The examiner keeps the time and stops you if it is more than 2 minutes. In part 3, which is two-way discussion, 4 to 5 minutes, the examiner asks further discussions. It's mostly related to the task card, part 2. Structured questions like why do you think, or giving a reason, or comparing. So there are more abstract ideas. And you have to justify your opinion. It's good to give them examples and reasons. For each question, you usually have 2 to 3 minutes to talk. Or I can say at least 8 sentences. 7 to 8 sentences usually. And what is being tested? It's a test of language, not content. So get more based on the language, the correct use of the language, not what's your idea. I mean, the examiner don't care about your ideas about the question, but the use of the language is important. So the examiner assess 4 main areas of your English language usage. The first one is vocabulary, the range of vocabulary that you use. Then grammatical structure, pronunciation, and fluency and cohesion. So each one, 25%. Okay, each item is 25%. Totally going to be 100%, which is your band score. So what about vocabulary? The number of words you use to express your ideas is important. Range of words and phrases, not repeated words. Even the level of the words. Is it advanced? Is it upper intermediate, intermediate, or even pre-intermediate? The level of the words is also important for getting the band score. And how accurate the words are in choice and formation. So word formation, prefixes, and suffixes, even as a proper word for that context. Collocations, using idioms, formality level. IELTS is a formal exam. So while you're talking, it's good to use formal words. And how well you reword an idea, like paraphrasing, not repeated the same sentence, not repeated, if it's ask you something in a question, not repeated the same sentence that the examiner used in a question. So you have the ability to paraphrase and reword the ideas. What is the best way to practice speaking? It's good your students, while they are learning vocabulary, they learn the synonyms and appropriate words for each context. So they have enough words to talk. on a topic. And it's good to use less common words like advanced words. And how correctly they can use the words or phrases. They know different parts of speech of the words. So it's good. I usually ask my own students to make notebook, even digital one. And when they learn words, put the words in their notebook based on the topic. For example, all the words for environment in one part, or another, all the words for example, for entertainment in another part. So they categorize their notebook. And then they write the part of speech, pronunciation, stress, and an example for each word. And review the words, even synonym and antonym. So in this case, while they are talking, because of enough practice, they can remember the words. So paraphrasing, it's an important part in speaking. You've heard it as a teacher, I'm sure you have heard it. They even some pet words like I think, I think, I think. So it's not good to use it in IELTS. Instead of I think, once they say I believe, to my idea, to me, on the top of my head, different phrases. These books can help English vocabulary in use, or English collocation in use. Vocabulary for IELTS. There are two books for IELTS, Vocabulary for IELTS and Vocabulary for IELTS Advanced, which is for 7 above, band score 7 above. They're very good book and they're very friendly. I mean, it's very easy to use them. All the words are in the context. These are examples. I'm sure there are many good books, but these are as an example. The words are in the context and lots of exercises so your students can practice. So as I said, there are examples. I'm sure you can find many good books. So what that was for vocabulary. The other item is grammatical structures. It refers to range of grammatical structures that the examinee used to express his or her ideas and how accurately the form is speaking. And the number of different sentences or structures that they use. I mean, while they're talking about past tense, for example, it shouldn't be all in simple past, but also past continuous, like talking about the background of something, using past continuous, then use simple past for the event. Or sometimes they want to say what happened sooner, so they use past perfect. You know what I'm saying? So different kinds of past. Yes, Shazia, you have a question, please.
Evening, ma'am. How are you?
I'm doing fine. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you
you.
very much. That was a very good question. Thank you.
And
Okay.
one more, sorry to interrupt you in the middle of the lecture.
Anytime, sure. Okay, so the number of different sentences structure be used to express the ideas. And so that's a range of tenses as we were talking about. Also, complexity of sentences. It shouldn't be all simple sentences. So sentences with subordinate clauses and so on, like using linkers, using cohesive devices, because it just raised the level of your speaking from intermediate to advanced to upper intermediate. And how accurately a range of sentences structure used. So subject, verb agreement, repeated basic, the rest of the sentence. So it could be adverbs, adjective, okay? So using complex structures. Paraphrasing, so while you are paraphrasing, use different structure or part of speech. Number 3, pronunciation. So it should sound English language. Okay? The accent is not important, but it should be understandable and how clearly spoken. Accurate and clear use of sound of English. Word stress is very important. So it's not interesting, but interesting. Develop. So while you're practicing with your students, from the very beginning, even from starters, work on word stress and sentence stress. So there is one word in a sentence which is more important, which is the answer to the question, or which is the keyword. Like when you want to answer to this questions, where did you go last summer? You say, I traveled to Toronto. So you put in stress on Toronto because Toronto actually is the keyword in the sentence, and it refers to the main answer to the question. Okay, so sentence stress. Even while you are talking or asking questions, like WH questions, falling, or tag questions. Okay, tag question, it depends if you're sure about the answer, so it's falling, but if you're not very sure, you're asking, so it's raising. So knowing about the sentence stress, it shouldn't be monotonous and flat. Intonation, so it's a question, it's like you're surprising about something, or when you want to give some information, so your feelings behind it makes intonation. So it sounds more natural. And rhythm, of course. So here is a word stress like kitchen, industry, important. So practice, we need to have lots of practice in these stress exercises with your students, because there is a direct impact of their first language. So maybe it's very difficult for students to pronounce the word correctly. This one is an example for sentence stress. Okay, as the truck came down the hill, its brakes failed and it was unable to stop. So truck, hill, brakes failed, unable, stop. These are the keywords. So they put stress on keywords while they are talking. Not like that, as the truck came down the hill, its brakes failed and it was unable to stop. There's no motion, there's no feeling behind it, so it doesn't sound natural. Practicing sentences of stress is very important as well. So it's not only for IELTS classes. While you are practicing speaking with your students, from the very beginning, works on sentence stress. So basically, for grammatical range, tenses, active, passive, conditionals, comparative superlatives, modal sentences, reporting sentences, relative clauses, and linkers and cohesive devices are very important in IELTS. These are grammar points, which are very important and crucial for IELTS. Here I bring some examples like basic grammar in use for different levels, elementary, intermediate, and advanced, and grammar for IELTS. Vocabulary are 2 books, but grammar for IELTS is only 1. So they can see the examples of different range of grammar in IELTS exam. But I want to say that these are examples. There are many other good books that you can find. What is next is fluency and cohesion. This is the 4th criteria. So by fluency, it refers to the speed, smoothness, and flow of the language with no hesitations or repeated words. So in this case, the students is very fluent. No pauses while they're talking. And there's a logical sequence and flow while they're talking or expressing their ideas. That's cohesion. So the sentences support each other. It starts from A and it goes to Z. And sentences support each other. That is cohesion. So it's meaningful. So you understand what is the examinee saying, what is he talking or what's she talking about. So how they can improve their cohesion? By using linking words and understand how to link the ideas, connectives. How to improve cohesion? They should learn how to use pronouns, how to use time indicators like at first, then, next, after that, or afterwards, finally. So using conjunctions, basically. Because, due to, so, as a result, although, cohesive devices as well, like however, therefore, meanwhile, in addition. So using conjunctions, connectors, linkers, cohesive devices help improve the cohesion. Here is an example. So it's talking about, I guess, the most important day of my life. The examiner asked to talk about the most important day of your life. Was the day I got married. Firstly, at around 11, something happened while I was getting ready. So see, while I was getting ready, this is past continuous. My husband played football with his friend to help him relax. So, you know, range of vocabulary. Later, at around 4 p.m., my father arrived to pick me up. Then we drove there as my father walked. So see, using linkers. So how's it scored? Fluency and coherence, 25%. Refers on hesitation, repetition, cohesive devices, topic development. Lexical resource, relevance, register, using collocation, precision, paraphrasing, not repeating the word on and on, 25%. Grammatical range and accuracy, complex structures with subordinating, 25%, and pronunciation, 25%. Pronounce it correctly, stress of the words, and rhythm, intonation, connected speech, and also stress of the sentence. I'll come to you, Shazia. Let me say this one. So
Okay, ma'am.
common learner mistakes: flat intonation, poor pronunciation, or saying too much or too little. Okay. Usually for part one, they have to say 3 to 4 sentences. Part two, it's 2 minutes to answer all the questions. And part three, aim to say 7 to 8 sentences. Okay. In part one, I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you an example in one of the Cambridge books. But it usually asks about family, where you live for part one, what you do, what you like. We're talking about habits. Do you like your job? Do you hope to do this job for a long time? Do you still live in a town where you grew up? Do you think it has changed since you were young? Do you like reading? Do you think people will continue to read books in the future? So see, something very general. Here's an example of part two. Describe a time when you gave advice to others. So who you gave advice to, what the advice was. This is an example from one of those Cambridge books. Why you gave this advice and explain how you felt about the advice. So they have 1 minute to think about all the questions and take notes, and then 2 minutes talk. Here is an example, another example. So they give you a task, right? Describe something you own, which is very important to you. So you should say where you got it from, how long you have had it, what you use it for, and explain why it is important to you. if you want to see, I'm going to show you that, but here are common topics for part 1, like art, birthdays, books, childhood, clothes, computers, dictionaries, evenings, reading, internet, leisure, music, neighbors, leisure time, school, travel, weather. So they are all common topics. So give me a minute. I want to show you a sample. Okay. Yes, Shazia, you can ask your question as well. So here's an example of the, you can find very good example from this in this Cambridge IELTS tests. So this one for academic, volume 15, there are 17 volumes. Okay. So there are 4 tests in each volume. Here is example. So for speaking, so part 1, let's talk about emails. What kind of emails do you receive about your work? So there are 4 questions about emails. This is the task card. Describe a hotel that you know, where this hotel is, what this hotel looks like, what facilities this hotel has, and explain whether you think this is a nice hotel to stay in. And then part 3, discussion, staying in hotels. So see, it's related to that. But what things are important when people are choosing a hotel? So you have to elaborate your answer. Give reason, examples. Why do some people not like staying in hotels? So why? So you have to give reasons. Or do you think hotel work is a good career for life? So here, usually you give 7 to 8 sentences, and you have to elaborate your answers. Also, here is the speaking band description for public. So as you see, it is fluency and coherence, lexical resource, grammatical range, and accuracy and pronunciation. By studying, you can see what's the difference between band 9 and band 6, 7, and 8. So if they don't say anything, they get 1. No communication, they get 1. They just go and sit there. The band score is 1. So for fluency and coherence, for band 9, it speaks fluently with only rare repetition self-correction. For band 8, it speaks fluently with only occasional repetition. For band 7, it speaks at length without noticeable effort or loss of coherence. But in band 6, is willing to speak at length, though may lose coherence. See, so there are differences. And for lexical resource, use vocabulary with full flexibility and precision in all topics. That is 9. Uses a wide vocabulary resources readily and flexibly to convey precise meaning. 8. Use vocabulary resource flexibly to discuss a variety of topics. 7. Has a wide enough vocabulary to discuss and make meaning clear in spite of inappropriateness. That goes to 6. And for grammatical range and accuracy, for 9, uses a full range of structure naturally and appropriately. For 8, structures flexibly, uses a wide range of structure flexibly. And for 7, uses a range of complex structure with some flexibility. But 6 use a mix of simple and complex structures, but with limited flexibility. And pronunciation, full range of pronunciation features. For band 9, wide range of pronunciation features. Band 8, positive features. Band 6, but not all. In band 6, uses a range of pronunciation features with mixed control. So by studying the differences between band score, you understand how far or your students needs to practice, or you have to practice with your students. Good. So any questions? Okay, continue with IELTS listening. So for IELTS listening, the questions are the same for academic tests and general training tests. There are 4 parts, part 1, 2, 3, and 4. Part 1, social topic, usually 2 speakers are talking. Part 2, monologue about social topic. Like part 1 is like talking about traffic. 2 people are talking about traffic. Part 2, monologue, 1 person's talking about the festival, the town festival. So again, it's social topic. Part 3, 3 to 4 speakers talking about academic topic, like they're talking about university project or about different lessons at school. Part 4, academic monologue. So a teacher, a professor is talking about, for example, an issue in physics or in biology or something about the library of the university or different parts on university campus. So it's academic. It's lasts for 30 minutes. For written in paper based, 10 minutes to transfer the answer to for the answer sheet. Okay, so you have 10 minutes to transfer the answers from textbook to answer sheet. Maybe while you are listening, you tick the answers or write the answer on your booklet. So they give you 10 minutes to transfer it. But the computer based, you don't have that 10 minutes because at the same time you're answering on the computer. So it's going to be only 10 minutes. It's going to be only 30 minutes. There are 40 questions. So the part 1 is the easiest and part 4 is the most difficult. So it's from easy to difficult. And it's always in order, always in order. You can hear a variety of English accents. And you hear it once. You hear it once. To practice to get familiar with different accents, so it's good you ask your students to listen, ask them to listen to BBC 6 Minutes, TED Talks. TED Talks are really good because they can hear different accents. Breaking news English also. Or listen to different radios like BBC radios, ABC radio, Australia news, or New Zealand news, CBC radio, Canada radio. So they get familiar with different accents because they can hear it. Although 70% of IELTS listening test is British accent. Also, there's a book, Q Skills, Listening and Speaking, and there's another one, Reading and Writing. So there are lots of also worksheets and exercises in the book as well. Number 2 is, so students get familiar with different accents. Number 2, how to take notes. It's almost impossible. While they are listening, they can answer to the questions. So they need to practice how to take notes. There are different ways to take notes, like Venn diagram. They draw circles and they write the main words in each circle and how the circles are related. Or maybe they write the words in a column, okay, in a column or in different boxes. But the important is they should be organized. If just writing scattered in different places, it's very hard to find the answer. So they have to organize their notes while they're writing. Okay, what are the challenges? Number 1 is accent. Some of the students are not familiar with different accents, so they don't understand it. That we said, listening to TED Talks really important, or watching TED Talks podcasts. They can improve their listening. Or the other challenge is understanding the main idea. They don't understand the main idea of the questions and the purpose of the question, so they don't get the main idea of the listening. Recognizing the idea and attitude, because there are some questions about the attitude and the idea of the speaker. And the number of words. The number of words, because in IELTS it said writing in 3 words, in 4 words. So they forget in how many words. The answer is correct, but it's more than the words which they are permitted to write. Question types, there are different types, actually there's 7. So they have flowchart to complete or forms to complete, multiple choice, summary completion, sentence completion, labeling diagram or map, short answer questions, and classification. Basically, it's gap filling, multiple questions, and matching. So how do they do the task? Number 1 is they have few seconds, 30 seconds, 45 seconds, or 1 minute. So they have to read the instruction very carefully, underline the keywords, so they understand what should they do, what is the main aim of the questions. Then while they are listening, they should look for the keywords and synonym and choose the answer. The most of the time, they can hear the synonym of the keywords in the listening, not exactly the same words. Even for short answer questions, while they're reading the instruction, they have to underline that how many words they're permitted to use. Number of the words are very important. Are they 3 words? They have to write it in 3 words and or a number, or 4 words or 2 words even. Okay. It's good to predict the answer as well. That helps them, or predict the keywords, or predict the words for the gap filling. While they're reading, they can predict it. Then when they're underlining the keywords, while they're listening, they just quickly can look at the keywords and they can remember, help them to remember what are they looking for. So it helps them to concentrate better. If they underline the keywords, it helps them to concentrate better. Think about the synonym of the keywords as well, because as I told you, most of the time they hear the synonyms of the keywords in the listening part. And then they start taking notes. Then they get back to the questions and try to answer and check the answer. And finally, on that 10 minutes, they transfer the answers. The multiple choice is the same thing. So they read the instructions, they read the questions, and then they go through the choices. They should understand what is the difference between A, B, C, or D. What's the difference between the choices? And underline the differences, the different words, or circle it. And sometimes the difference is just different motorways. One is say should, the other one said must, the third one say may. So they circle it. While they're listening, they have to pay close attention. Is it should? Is it must? Is it recommended? Is it suggestion? Is it the advice? Or it's obligatory? If the students can underline the keywords, it helps them a lot to find the correct answer. For completing or classification, okay, so they have to read the topic, the questions, and all the choices, and then decide which words they refer to. I mean, which words refer to what categories. While they're listening, they understand different categories, so they can match the letters or parts with different categories. Let me show you. Okay, give me a minute. Before showing you the sample, I just want to tell you the traps in listening. Number 1 is they say something, and the student thinks that they find the answer. They choose the answer. but they have to concentrate until the end of the part, you know, because at the very end, they change their ideas. I mean, the speakers change the ideas. So first they say something and then change it. Okay. So just when they take notes, they take the answer. Then listen to the end and say, oh, at the very end, it's changed. Like they're filling a form and said, okay, what time do you get to the hotel? And so I will get there around 7. They write 7. The answer is 7. What time does the passenger get to the hotel? It says 7. But the very end, before just it's talking on the phone, for example, to the receptionist. The person said, oh, I made a mistake. Actually, I get to a hotel around 8. I said, okay, thank you, sir. Bye. So the answers change from 7 to 8. That's one trap. The other trap is pronunciation, especially for numbers, like 13 or 30. So this is the matter of stress. So 13 is in the second syllable, but 30 is the first syllable. And third spoiler trap is, two persons talking, and then another person comes and change the whole information. Okay, so from the very beginning to the end, they need to practice that they can concentrate on the listening. For the scoring, if they have 1 mistake, they get 9. 2 to 3, 8.5. 5 to 4, 8. And if they get 6 to 8, 7.5. Almost 10 to 9, 7. By the way, spelling is important too. If the answer is correct, but wrong spelling, wrong structure, they don't get the mark. This is a very good book, Memory Training to Practice Concentration, Brain Training. There are very good exercises how to concentrate, because they have to concentrate for 30 minutes. And the books, IELTS Academic, also recently we have number 17 too. For each book, there are 4 samples of full IELTS exam. This version is academic. Also, there is another one from 17 IELTS for Cambridge, for general IELTS. Okay, let me share with you. Give me a minute. Let me share with you an exam. Okay, here it's one of these books, IELTS 15. So the first part of the listening, the written test is listening. The written test of IELTS is listening. So part 1, you see it's complete the notes, 1 word or a number, or a number. So they have to write only 1 word. If they write 2 words, even if one of the words is the correct answer, they don't get the mark. Then for part 2, choose a correct letter, multiple choice. So the students, the examiner, you have to read it. According to the speaker, the company has been in business for longer than most of its competitors, arrange holidays to more destinations than its competitors, has more customers than its competitors. So business longer, holidays, more destination, more customers, the keywords. They have to underline the keywords, then they listen and take notes. Also, there's another part, 1 word or a number to each answer. So activity notes, but only 1 word or a number. Part 3, what did findings of previous research claim about the personality traits a child is likely to have because of their position in the family? Choose 6 answers from the box. Okay, position in family. The eldest child, so they have to choose one of them. They have to study this and then they look at it very quickly, then take notes. And choose again, here is a multiple choice, A, B, C, what's the correct answer? But they have to read it, underline the keywords, even for the choices, underline the keywords and find the differences. And also for part 3, which two experiences of siblings derivably do the speakers agree has been valuable for them? So A, B, C, D, E, only 2. So they have to choose 2. And part 4 mostly is on a summary. 1 word only. So they have to listen to the whole thing. They have to read it very quickly, underline the keywords, and guess. It provides something. So I need a noun here. It leaves provide something. Okay, sometimes they need verb, adjectives, noun. So good to go through it and think about the part of speech. Then they listen. Maybe they have to use different part of speech from what they heard on the audio. And 40 questions. Okay? So any questions, please?
Speaking portion, and I will re-study from your lecture, inshallah. Whenever TESOL will provide all of us the recordings of your lecture.
Okay, that's going to be great. We're going to talk about reading and writing for next webinar.
Okay, ma'am. When is our next class?